Hey everybody, my name is Zach, and I am super excited for what I have to share with you today. In all parts of the tree work industry, we're always looking to find what cuts the fastest, what saw, what chain, what sharpening method, all of those things. And so ever since I saw the Hexa chain released in Europe, I'm not even sure when it was a while ago though, I've been super interested in comparing it to both square ground chain, regular 3/8 pitch chain, and then also 3/8 Pico chain, a low profile stuff that we run on top panel saws and that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to do today. I finally got my hands on some Hexa. If you're not familiar with Hexa chain, it's a new chain made only by Stihl, and I'll go into all the details about how it's different and how it's supposed to be better after we do some cutting. I'm sure that some of you just want to see how fast the stuff cuts, and so we're going to jump right into that. What I've done to make this comparison as fair as possible is I got 3 new chains. Oh no, I got 4 new chains. I got a brand new round file 3/8 chain, I got a brand new square ground chain, and I got a brand new Hexa chain. And then the last comparison I want to do is I also got a brand new 3/8 Pico chain, which is a narrow curve stuff that we run on our top panel saws. I should tell you, just so you know, it is not made to go on the hardware that I'm going to run it on. I'm going to run it on a regular full-size 3/8 bar. It doesn't fit the sprocket out here on the nose real well, and it doesn't fit the sprocket back here real well. So if for some reason that does cut way faster and that's something I want to start using all the time, I'm going to have to figure some things out, figure out a way to make it more reliable and safer so we're not throwing the chain all the time. But for this comparison, I think we can get away with it. So what we're going to do first, we're going to run the regular chain to give ourselves a baseline. I don't have a stopwatch out here. I don't have someone to time me, so I'm not going to know the times until I get back and do the editing. I'll be sure to put them in the video down there at the bottom of the screen somewhere so you can see them as we go. First up is some round file chain. Pretty good. Let's put the square ground chain on next. Alright, I got the square ground chain on here. This is actually my first time cutting with square ground chain. Based on all of the information on the internet, this stuff should cut faster than the round ground chain we just cut with. I was not super impressed with that, actually. I'm not saying it did bad, I just expected a little bit more. I will say it's worth noting that, especially without engaging the dogs in the log, this cut's a little concave, which is kind of what I've also heard, that this stuff doesn't quite track as nicely on its own when it's cutting. Alrighty, up next we have the Hexa chain. That felt like it went pretty fast. My cut is not super straight, so that's mighty interesting. That'll take some experience to see if it wants to wander in the cut or not. I'll just have to give it a try on the job somewhere, but that wasn't a bad experience. Alright, now it's time for what I've been looking forward to the most, which is the 3/8 Pico chain. So this chain is the same length between all the pins, but the drivers are shorter, the leaves are shorter, the cutters are shorter, everything is just smaller. It doesn't cut as wide, and so theoretically it should cut faster. Now, I don't know, it might just be too much saw for not enough chain. I don't know, I don't even know if this stuff will hold together. It might just break. I don't know. There's probably a reason that Stihl doesn't recommend this chain on this saw. So I hope we don't discover what that is today, or if we do, I hope it's not super unsafe, but there's only one way to find out, I guess. So we're gonna go ahead and give her a whirl. Alrighty, that did not feel extraordinarily fast, and in fact it even kind of felt like it was binding up. Like maybe there wasn't enough kerf width to get this big fat bar through, which could very well be the case. So I did dress this bar up nice to make sure it didn't have any huge burrs on it last night, so I don't think that would be a factor in this scenario. But look at this stuff, it just looks toyish on this bar. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, all of these cuts were done with chains straight out of the box. And I know there are a lot of folks out there that believe that they can get their saw to cut faster by sharpening a new chain and doing their own thing to the chain with the file to make it cut faster. And there may be some cases of that. I think there are mostly cases of making the chain match the wood. You know, the chain is set up to be used by anybody anywhere. And so if you can file it to kind of tune it for the kind of wood you're cutting, you'll be able to get it to cut faster. Now, I know that my sharpening skills are not good enough to exceed the repeatability that a machine in a factory can, so I don't expect that I can make the cutters any better. I do think that I can make the rakers a little bit better, especially with this narrow kerf chain. I don't think the saw is getting the opportunity to grab enough wood to really make it cut to its full potential. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to knock the rakers down on all of those chains just a little bit, and we'll see if that makes any big difference. Alright, we're going to go in the same order. I started with the regular 3/8 full chisel chain. Oh, I forgot to mention these are all full chisel chains, even the 3/8 Pico chain. That's technically full chisel chain. It's not the close to full chisel chain that they will sell you with the saw. It's actual full chisel. But anyhow, I took a flat file, went over all the rakers. I just took 2 strokes on each. It brought the rakers just a little bit below the surface of the Stihl Raker gauge. So we'll see how it does. I'll put the time that this ran last time we tried it and the take 2 at the bottom of the screen for each cut. Something I just thought of is if you haven't messed around with chain a whole bunch and you're thinking about doing that to a brand new chain, don't do it on my accord. You know, however these test results turn out, keep in mind that that bar is bigger than this wood is, and that's a really big saw for this bar too. So I don't want you to ruin a brand new chain on my accord by going out, knocking the rakers down, and then it just binding up and stalling real bad for you, because that would be disappointing. Chains aren't cheap these days. Speaking of which, part of the reason I was able to do this was because Akron Tractor, a Kubota and Stihl dealership in Akron, Ohio, gave me a discount on these chains, and I really appreciated that. I went in there, told them what I was doing, I wanted to make a comparison video, and they helped me out a little bit on them. I think it is worth mentioning that the cheapest chain of the 3 full-size 3/8 chains is the standard full chisel chain. The square ground was like $1 more or something, and then the Hexa chain was a couple dollars more. Alrighty, here's take 2 on the square grind chain. Okay, that one felt like it was pretty quick. Time will tell, obviously. but I also felt like it wasn't quite as smooth. Alright, this is take 2 on the Hexa chain. So I saw that cookie fall off there. I noticed some blue staining, and sure enough, I cut right through a piece of steel. There's a few battle scars on there, but I don't think it was all that bad, really. Maybe that's the true potential of Hexa chain. It can cut through anything. And it looks like 2 or 3 teeth saw the worst of it. The dumb thing is I probably could have noticed that blue stain 2 or 3 cookies ago if I would have been paying more attention. Okay, I went back and sharpened this all up, and we'll see how it does. We'll get to see if I can sharpen a chain as good as new anyway. I think that cut fairly good. I'm happy with that. I was looking at what I'd cut off here. I noticed that some previous cuts, I don't even remember what this was, were nice and smooth and pretty clean, and then the cut I just made with the Hexa chain is all fuzzy and furry. I don't quite understand what the cause of that would be, so if you guys would happen to know, I'd love to hear it, but my guess is that the side of the tooth is not severing the fibers really well, which means that it's really not cutting efficiently. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. Upon further inspection, I noticed that there are rows of fibers that aren't getting cut, as if it's one tooth or something that's not working the right way and just laying the fibers over rather than cutting them. Alright, this is take 2 on the Pico chain. I actually took 3 strokes off these rakers because I just think that's going to be a key component here. So we'll see how it does. Wow, I still just wanted to get hung up. It's definitely catching on something. I'm imagining that the bar is just too thick for the narrow kerf. So maybe I should try running some 325 pitch chain. Maybe that's for another day. I think it's worth mentioning that this one also made some fuzzies. You know, I haven't touched the cutting side of the cutter teeth on that, but it still pulled some fuzzy fibers out. It also feels like it has something to do with the composition of the log. It's only doing it in certain places, like up in this area and then down here. Maybe it's moisture content, I don't know. So I was just messing around with this a bunch, and I went and I forced it until it stalled. You know, it bound up and it stalled the clutch. So I pulled it out as gently as I could, and I noticed that these cutters are just absolutely jam-packed full. And I kind of wonder if that's a part of the problem. We're trying to drag, you know, a heavy chip, because we got the rakers knocked way down, try and drag it all the way across this bar. And that's, you know, that's a long way, and I wonder if stuff isn't just getting piled up in front of the cutters. I mean, this stuff is, it's hard to even pull out of there. So I would speculate that that's the case. I don't think I can show you real good on camera, but this is some thick stuff. It's not like nice little salt chips that are real thin. It's some thick stuff. So that's what happens, I guess. You know, we kind of know what happens if you've ever done an accident file. The raker's too low and just wants to get all catchy and stall the saw. But when you don't have that problem, when you've got enough power to just force it through anyway, what ends up happening is it cuts too big of a chip, and there's not enough space for it to drag it all the way out of the wood. So that's cool. I feel like I learned something new today. I really appreciate that learning opportunity. I got this chain specially made for this experiment because obviously, 3/8 Pico doesn't come in a standard size of 25-inch bar, so it costs a little extra, but it wasn't a big deal. It was definitely worth it to learn that. That's some cool info. Well, that about wraps up everything for us. I'm super excited to go home, edit this, and figure out how everything did. I've kind of got some thoughts, but I'm going to keep them to myself until I see the numbers. I do want to show you guys the different chains, just kind of compare them so you can see the differences. Interestingly enough, Stihl claims their Hexa chain cuts about 10% faster. That's their own promotional video, and I'll put that promotional video in the description if you want to see it. It's not on YouTube, it's on their website. But they claim 10% faster. The way it's advertised in some of their literature, it sounds like, aside from making it cut faster, they were also trying to develop a chain that's easier to sharpen for somebody who maybe is not super high skilled, which is actually a really important factor for our tree market here in the US. We've got such a high turnover rate. It seems to me like we kind of have a shortage of skill. We have a shortage of people, but also not everyone in the industry that's working in the industry is passionate about it and really pursuing getting good at the finer points of it. And so something that's a little bit easier to sharpen, where you can send somebody off into the shop on a rainy day and say, hey, go sharpen those chains for me, that has a lot of value. I don't really know how to quantify that value. That's something that would kind of have to be seen over a long period of time. I don't know if I have a good opportunity to figure that one out for you, but I will keep giving these chains a try and keep trying different things with them, and we'll see what we come up with. I have this entire wood pile that I can cut on today, so I'm going to see if I can learn anything real quick now. If I do, I'll share it with you. If not, it'll just be a pile of firewood, and that's okay. That's good. We need to get that done. So comparing these three chains, you'll see we've got on the right, we've got the 3/8 Pico. Second from the right, the 3/8 full chisel. Then there is the square ground chain, and then there's Hexa chain all the way on the left. You'll see there's a little bit of difference between those four. Obviously, the Pico has the smallest cutter tooth, but it kind of looks like the Hexa has a little bit smaller cutter tooth than the square ground and the full chisel chain. So I'm interested in that. I mean, if the Hexa chain already has a little bit narrower kerf, that would obviously put it ahead of the other ones in that regard. I find it pretty interesting too that the square ground chain came from Stihl with a pretty low angle cutting edge on the cutter tooth. Also the Hexa chain, they recommend running a 25-degree angle rather than a 35-degree angle on that. So all those sorts of stuff that can be played with over time. Running a file over the Hexa chain was a pretty good experience. It wasn't too bad. It was a little bit different, took a little bit to get used to, but it was something that I feel like somebody could pick up on pretty easy and would have a fairly hard time messing up. But yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. I will do some experimentation. It's going to take me a while to get good at sharpening square grind chain. I just know it is. I've heard it's pretty hard to sharpen, but I think that's something I will try to do. I'll try different experimentations with different angles and whatnot and see what I come up with, see if I feel like it's getting any better. The biggest challenge with square ground chain is sharpening it. It's fairly difficult to sharpen from what I understand, and so I think that this Hexa chain may be an attempt from Stihl to kind of bridge the gap between the ease of sharpening a regular full chisel chain and the speed of cutting when cutting with a square ground chain. Either way, it's all very interesting stuff. It definitely opens a can of worms, opens the door to the world of chain tuning and trying different things. I am definitely not the most skilled person. I'm probably like the least skilled when it comes to tree guys on YouTube and sharpening chains. I am not great at it, and I have not been good at keeping my stuff sharp, and I've faced the consequences. That's why there's a good bit of paint missing off my bar. It took me a while to figure out. That was due to running the chains a little bit dull too often and too long. But anyhow, I will definitely have fun tuning these things up and trying different things and seeing what works best and what doesn't. It's going to be hard to compare. You know, we used a red maple log today, and maybe another day I'll be working on like an oak tree or something, you know? There's a lot of factors involved, and it's really hard to compare when you have more than one variable. But I will definitely give you guys an update later down the road once I've messed around with all of them a little bit, and you can see what I come up with, I guess. If you want to be sure to catch my thoughts later on down the road on these chains, make sure you subscribe. And also, if you thought this video was any good at all, feel free to hit that like button. Both subs and likes really help this channel. I really would like to grow it. I found a lot of satisfaction in interacting with you guys in the comment section and just learning new things. There's a lot of things I've done for videos I never would have done if I wasn't trying to make a video about it. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and drop me a comment. I'd like to get to know you. Alright, so I've been out here working my way through this firewood pile. That's what we've got done. That's what's still left. And I've been working with a hexa chain. That's the newest thing to me. I want to try it. I want to get familiar with it. And so what I've discovered so far is that, for one, I took the rakers down a bit too much. I should have not taken as much off there. I just took 2 strokes. Maybe I should have taken 1. Maybe I should have left it alone. I don't know. I'll try that on another new chain sometime and see how I feel. But it's just they're just a little bit too low, and so it wants to stall the saw occasionally when the bar is, you know, full of wood. So I've got this log picked out here. It's maybe 10 or 12 inches diameter for the most of it. And I'm just going to go and just firewood it up here real quick. I just wanted to include that in this video so you can see how it's cutting. I think that's pretty fine. I think you saw there the one time where I stalled it. I was pushing it a little bit, trying to get a lot done really fast. But that's just the kind of thing that's a characteristic of getting the rakers too low. If you want to make sure you catch how these chains work out for me in the long run, be sure to subscribe. I'm sure we'll talk about it later in more videos.